What's happening, guys? Hey, it's your boy TMD here. It's the middle of summer. I'm back. I'm in the world headquarters. We might as well call this a summer update video for the TMD maple syrup operation. So come along. Well, guys, right here you can see we're up here in the front of the shop, and a lot of boxes out, and over here we got tents and canopies and tables and all this and accessories and whatnot. What we did here just the other day over the weekend was an event called the Dairyland Balloon Jubilee, and that was where we set up as a vendor for a balloon fest and a hot air balloon fest, and that was just close by here on the mean streets in Marshfield, Wisconsin. It was 2 days, Fridays and Saturday, and Friday was a bust. It was a rain out. Jean went there and set up for me. I was up north in Conover, Wisconsin on vacation with the family, but she set up Friday, and unfortunately it was a total bust. It was a rain out, and there was a lot of rain there, so that the first day really didn't make any money. The second day I came back with Jack, and then we manned the booth, and we did well. I mean, it was right on par with what I'd want to go through for all the setup and everything that you have with an event like that, because you got a lot of time involved, you got a lot of setup, you know, you're paying people and everything like that. So one day it was good, one day it was bad. So overall, you know, I can't say that it was a success totally, because of that one bad day really brought down the second day, you know, the overall total, the average. But I think if we would have had good weather on the first day, it would have been a pretty decent event. And if they hold it again next year, I would give it another try. Let's go back here. So, okay, that's a good looking guy. Look at that, guys. Dang it, that's a handsome guy. I mean, really a good looking guy. Guys, today we're back here in the back of the shop. We're gonna do a small order today. Gonna get the bottling machine running here. Gene is coming in, Jack's coming in, and we're gonna run this thing and do that smaller order today. It's one we gotta kick out. It's gonna be picked up later today. So I'm gonna get started on that. Summertime for me, and I would say most maple syrup people probably would say this. I don't know, it depends probably on what your business model is and you know, where your sales come from. But for me, it's definitely a downtime. It's a lot slower. So in some regards, it's kind of nice because you can have the core summer months of June, July, and August a little bit slower and, you know, do other things, which I like to do. I mean, I like to get out and, you know, do things around the state of Wisconsin, you know, on weekends, like a lot of ATV riding or going to parks and hiking and things like that. So, you know, or concerts or whatever. But yeah, for me, summer is definitely slower. So we try to fill up some of those things, or, you know, the slower time of business with doing events like I just explained. Although they are a lot of work, and that's one thing to keep in mind if you want to do those things. Do you want to work most weekends? That's something to factor in. Some people like that, you know, sitting under an easy up pop-up shelter all weekend. You know, for me, it's not something I probably want to do every weekend, so that's why I try to, you know, implement some help when I do it, so I don't have to necessarily be there every day. Or the days that we do them, you know, have some help along. Definitely is a good idea to get help to load up and get out of there. And but again, you got to keep your costs in mind, and that's one thing that I definitely think goes on in the maple syrup world is, from other producers that I know and from what I observe and the way I see they price their products, most of these people aren't keeping track of their input costs. They're not valuing their time for anything, and you know, at the end of the day, if they really looked at it, they're probably not making much money. I'm a big advocate of pricing your products right and doing so in a way that is making this all worth your time. But I also will say at the end of the day, in this industry, you're gonna have, it's never gonna go away, the people that are going to underprice you and just wanna be the lowest priced out there. And you're gonna see that type of thing a lot at farmers markets. You know, you could have 5 other maple syrup vendors, especially up here in a state like Wisconsin. Wisconsin makes a lot of maple syrup. Recently, the survey came out, or the results for the 2025 season, and Wisconsin jumped ahead of Maine for overall production. So now we're in 3rd place. So everybody and their uncle makes syrup out here, and at some capacity. Most of it is on a hobby level or a little side business level. That's the vast majority of maple syrup producers anywhere, really. And you know, they get into the mindset of, I just want to get rid of it. You know, they have a hobby mindset about it. They like doing it. They'll pour a ton of money into it, but they don't really care if they make a profit or no. And that is a tough situation for a guy like me who is doing it, trying to make a living. You know, I do this full time. So when you're competing against that, it does throw some difficult challenges into the equation. All right, guys, so let's get on over to the bottling portion of this video. So right here, you're seeing me light the burners, natural gas burners, under this pan. This pan holds about 50 gallons all the way full. This is a slight bottleneck, or that pan you just saw is a slight bottleneck to the system, because we can empty that and use the syrup up in it quicker than we can fill it up again and heat it in time. So possibly another thing we would want to do is get a bigger tank to heat the syrup up before it goes into the bottling system. So what you saw me do there was starting to hook up hoses for the bottling machine. There's just a bunch of those, you know, they're with quick connects, so you can take them off and on easily, so you can drain water out of them. There's an air pump in there. This thing is pneumatic, the way this bottling machine works. Guys, we'll go over here. That's the air compressor in the back. That powers the machine itself. Filter press. Of course, you filter the syrup again on its way into the water jacketed holding tank. Of course, the syrup is filtered also when it is produced back in the spring before it goes into the 55-gallon black drums like you see there. And yes, I do still use the 55-gallon food grade steel drums. So just getting that filter press ready. You got to put a few filter press papers in it. You have to use that full press, the full capacity of it, because again, this syrup's already been filtered. So most everything is out of it. You're just really, it's a safeguard of filtering step again, in case there's any little particles or, you know, anything in the drum that you obviously don't want that to come through and get in the bottles into the finished product. So we filter that again to clean it up. Using my He-Man strength to tighten those down a couple last turns. More quick connects, more hoses. We've got to get this syrup, once it's heated, pumped through overhead. Actually, it goes up to the ceiling and then goes over to that holding tank. So that's what you're seeing me do there, is hook up. You'll have to excuse the noise in the background from the burners heating up the syrup, but over here what we're going to do is we're just going to get this bottling machine ready, guys. And what we're dealing with here is we got a water jacketed tank that's going to hold the syrup at temperature. This is a bottling unit I bought a few years ago, guys. It fills 5 bottles at a time. Basically just fills the bottles, and then the excess circulates back into the tubing and goes back into the water jacketed bottler. It's pretty simple actually how it works. And then it's pneumatic, it runs on air, and then we have a electric capper here that we tighten the caps up with. And then right here, labeling machine puts the labels on the side of the bottle, and then the grade label right there, a little dispenser for labels. It's a pretty simple system. We need at least 3 people here to run it. Like, somebody's kind of got to be watching the syrup over there, pumping it over. Somebody's pushing the bottles under the machine, and then somebody's labeling, and then like myself, the 3rd or 4th person will run back and forth and put them in boxes and put them on a pallet. Even as overall simple as this bottling system is that I have here, it does speed things up greatly over doing it by hand. And I would say, even though it is, you know, simplistic, it's still way more than probably most maple syrup producers have out there. I would say it's probably more than what 90% have. So, you know, in that regard, it has helped us a lot speed up, you know, from what we were doing prior. Here at the Maple Dude, guys, when you watch this, you're seeing somebody who actually taps the trees, makes the syrup, puts it in bottles, distributes it, and makes a living off of a smaller scale. You know, I would say there just aren't a lot of people actually making their living off maple syrup. Like I said, the vast majority of it, even larger operations down to small, it's a hobby or it's a side business. They've got some other bigger business supporting it or something like that. But in this regard, guys, this is an example of me actually making it full-time on a fairly smaller to moderate scale compared to a lot of the bigger operations out there. And I'm doing it from a small, primitive, really basic setup, you know, like 20 years ago. And then I worked with this as a side business. And then in 3.5 years ago, I started doing it full time. And I would say, you know, it can be done. It definitely is not easy, because at the end of the day, there really isn't that much demand out there for maple syrup. I know they say that, you know, the overall, you know, consumption or use of it, the market is growing year over year. It is, probably is a little bit each year. But when you consider, you look in the grocery stores and, you know, retail locations, the price on the shelf hasn't risen much in 20 years. I mean, it's just basically stayed the same, and people are just competing on pennies, really. These bigger bottlers are just trying to make a little bit on a larger volume, because the retail price doesn't go up. It's, everybody wants to be the cheapest out there, and that's something, like I said, and I'll complain about till I'm dead. The race to the bottom, everybody wanting to be the cheapest. Now, if there was a super huge demand for it out there, I could see, you know, that wouldn't be the case, but our inputs are going up every year, and we really don't get any more for the product that we sell. At the end of the day, are you going to get rich making maple syrup? I would say probably not, but it's a trade-off. You know, I trade off making money for freedom, and in this regard, you have to put a value on that. Pretty much, I can do what I want. I do things how I want. I get up when I want. I go where I want. I come and go as I please. I don't answer to anybody, and to me, that's worth a lot of money. To me, that is invaluable. And I think a lot of people would look at that and say, that's very valuable. You know, I don't have a boss. I don't have to worry about anything like that. And you can't put a price on that. That's a big benefit of this job, is doing what you want, how you want, when you want. And like I said, during the summer, it's a little slower, and I have more free time. All right, we're getting that syrup heated up, guys. I usually take this up to the boiling point, as you can see here. That just really ensures that you're doing things right. It kind of freshens up the flavor of the syrup, in my opinion, and you know, you can't go wrong that way. You got to get the old-fashioned method out here, the hydrometer and the hydrometer cup, to measure for density. Of course, you want it right on, because if it's too dense, you're giving away product. All right, you don't want to do that. As I explained earlier, you can't give stuff away in this business and expect to make money.
Close. It's a little bit
Now, it's a little bit heavy. It's a little bit overdone there. Guys, I'm putting in some distilled water to thin it back out and get it perfect. Got to mix that all up and make it evenly distributed in there. Let's get that hydrometer out one more time and see if I got it right on. And it looks like I did. Put in the filter aid. Somehow I missed that step with the filming here today, but you do put in that diatomaceous earth. It's a filtering agent, and that does not pass through into the finished product in the bottle. You got to turn on the filter press and send that syrup overhead, pump it over into the water jacketed holding tank. And here you can see coming through that liquid gold, all filtered and into that tank, which will hold it at our bottling temperature of about 190. So right here, guys, is case in point of what I was talking about, which just plagues this industry. I just got an email response from a person that inquired about buying some maple syrup wholesale that they could sell at their store. It's a little store within 15 miles of here, and they finally got, I gave them my price, which I gave them my wholesale price. You know, that's the lowest price I sell it for direct to a store. And this wasn't even a lot of volume they were talking about, but I still gave them my best price. They finally got back to me with an answer whether they wanted to do it or not, and they're like, well, we can't purchase from you at this time because we're able to get it cheaper. And that just is just a plague on this industry here in Wisconsin. It's a race to the bottom. Again, you're dealing with hobbyists who don't put any marketing or effort into their products. They don't do it full time, so they really don't care if they make money or not. And again, here, you lose sales like that all the time to people who want to be the cheapest. And then a lot of times the customers just say, oh, I can get it cheaper. Do they know how it was produced? Was it produced in a licensed facility? Do they have insurance? Number of different factors can vary from place to place. Yeah, maple syrup is maple syrup, but is it made right? You know, how does it taste, etc., etc. Every operation varies, and there can be a lot of different variables that go into the equation of what you get as the end product. All right, now guys, back to the bottling. So we got to go over here into the storage room where we're going to get some containers. Today we're bottling up those glass quarts, and so I got to roll a pallet out there so it's easy to get to when we do this small bottling run today. Now here, guys, this is sped up big time, but with this bottling machine, obviously you can do lots of different sizes and types of bottles with it, but it's all got manual adjustments on it. So you have to change the machine up, change the heights of the fillers, and change the drip tray position there. That catches the drips after the filling nozzles lift up. You have to change the track down there, the guide rails for the different size bottles. So it's versatile. You know, you can do a lot with it. And again, it has incredibly speeded things up from the way we were doing it prior to getting this machine. So soon we'll be on to the next step. Okay, so here I'm kind of testing it out, giving it a test run, seeing that everything lines up. You know, everything's going to hopefully go smoothly once we are ready to rock and roll and we have syrup flowing through that machine. Jack's here today.
Oh, there it is.
Yep. Jack, just grab that pallet and we'll get that out there and we'll load these cases onto that. You know what? Let me grab a piece of cardboard.
loading station.
Right.
Did you take them?
Those were the ones that got all moist, or got all mushy.
Yeah.
I picked those out and set them aside. So here we go. We're actually using the machine and starting to fill bottles with that TMD liquid gold. And again, guys, as you see here, it fills 5 at a time. And you don't have to worry about ever overfilling it. That is wonderful. That was a problem before we had this machine. Just stand there and press that button until you run through all these bottles. And then, of course, after that, they'll go on to the next guy. And today, Jack is in that spot.
These rails need to be adjusted more out. It's the way I set it up.
Ready?
Jack is the man with the plan. He's putting on those red caps and working them down tightly. This is just a different view of all 3 of us in action. And actually, some days when we do this, when we have a bigger orders, we have a 4th person coming in and helping. And today, though, it was a little bit smaller order, so we didn't feel like we needed all those people. That's a quick tip. Put your bottles in a box upside down, essentially, and the bottles will land right side up. And then we do label these yet one by one with this machine, but it will apply that label and it will also apply the date code, the lot code, the expiration date, whatever you want to call it. Maple syrup really doesn't expire, especially in glass, but you'll find that when you start selling in grocery stores, they want to see some type of an expiration date on it. So we go with 3 years on these glass bottles. Right over in this position is kind of where we have the 4th person. When we do, like I said, bigger orders, they'll just work exclusively on loading the bottles into the box. But we're kind of jumping around and filling all those duties with 3 people today. Look at Jack go there. Jack just graduated high school last month, essentially. This was filmed in July, so he graduated high school in June. And now, of course, just loading them on the pallet. It's not rocket scientist, but sometimes we make it look harder than it really is. And then kind of a wide shot of the TMD World Headquarters in the back of the shop. You know, you just kind of get into a rhythm with this and keep it moving along, and you can really do this pretty fast if everything is working properly. And like I said, you get into that flow, you get into that modeling state of mind where bottling syrup is your passion. It's your goal. It's what you dream of. You are feeling fully fulfilled, filling bottles of maple syrup in the middle of summer on a beautiful July day in central Wisconsin in the year of 2025. Wow. Here we are, wide shot from above, guys. I went all out with this video. The camera angles, the cinematography, the documentation of this process is award-winning. It should win an award for best maple syrup video on YouTube. I really believe that. Well, guys, we got the bottling done. Like I said, just a small order. Put together that little pallet right there. That is not even going to get wrapped up because I'm going to roll it out the back door here, and the distributor is going to come pick it up here in just about an hour, and we're just going to load it, hand load it by box, by case into his minivan. All right, guys, that's all we got for today. A little summer update from the TMD World Headquarters. Hope you enjoyed that video. Please like and subscribe. Really, that helps, guys. Comment below. And congratulations to Jack. He graduated high school last month, and you saw him in the video there. He's kind of feeling this out to see if he wants to get involved with it further down the road. So, guys, have a great week. And until next time, remember, always keep it real.